My name is Naomi Voss, and I'm 36 years old. 11 days ago, my father called me for the first time in 10 years, and the first thing he said was not hello. It was, "Your mother saw the article." I knew exactly which article. I didn't ask what he meant. I just said, "Okay," and waited, because I had been waiting 10 years for this call, and I wanted to hear how it started. He cleared his throat. "We should sit down." As a family. As a family, like the word still applied to us. Like a decade of silence hadn't already answered that question. Before I tell you what happened when they sat at my kitchen table, I need to take you back, because you won't understand why I stayed so calm, why I didn't cry, didn't scream, didn't even raise my voice, unless you know what it cost me to get there. If you're new to this channel, take a second to like this video and subscribe. It genuinely helps this story reach more people. And drop a comment telling me where you're watching from. I read every single one. Cedar Holt, Wisconsin. Population 3,400. One diner, one hardware store, one Lutheran church that everyone attended whether they believed or not, because that's just what Sundays were for. My father, Warren, managed the co-op grain elevator for 26 years. Steady, quiet, the kind of man who said maybe 11 sentences a day and made every one of them count. My mother, Carol, ran that house like a ledger, everything balanced, everything accounted for, love included. I had one sister, Bethany, 2 years younger, and from the time we were kids it was obvious whose column we were in. Bethany got the dance lessons. Bethany got the car at 16. Bethany got the toast at every birthday dinner that somehow always circled back to how proud they were of her. I got good grades and a part-time job at the hardware store, and a mother who called me responsible the way you'd describe a filing cabinet. I'm not telling you this to complain. I'm telling you because you need the math before I show you the equation. At 18, I got a partial scholarship to the state university, 2 hours south. I packed my own boxes. My mother handed me $20 and a Tupperware of banana bread and said, "Don't forget where you came from." I kept that Tupperware container for 6 years. I don't know why. Something in me has always kept things. I met Denny Ruiz my sophomore year, not in a lecture hall, in the parking lot behind my apartment building, where he was working on a '94 Civic that belonged to a friend of a friend. I'd locked my keys in my car. He had it open in under a minute with a wire hanger and didn't even look smug about it. He was a trade school kid, 2 years into an auto program, working nights at a transmission shop to pay for it. His mother had raised him and his younger brother alone after his father died in a warehouse accident when Denny was 9. She cleaned offices at 5 a.m., and never once, in all the years I knew her, complained about it. Denny didn't talk about big plans. He talked about doing the next thing well. Fix this car right. Save this month's rent. Show up on time. I found that unbearably attractive, which tells you something about the house I grew up in. We dated for 4 years before he proposed, sitting on the tailgate of his truck outside a Sonic drive-in. No ring yet, just a question. "I want to build something with you. Something small and ours. Will you let me?" I said yes before he finished the sentence. I called my mother that night. I heard the pause before she spoke. I counted it, 8 seconds, and then, "A mechanic, Naomi? You have a degree. What exactly is the plan here? Not congratulations. A performance review." My father got on the line and said 4 words. "Your mother's disappointed, Naomi." Then nothing else. 3 weeks later, a letter came. Cream stationery, my mother's handwriting, 4 paragraphs that all led to the same place. "If you marry that boy, don't expect this family to be behind you. We raised you for something better than a garage." I read it twice, folded it, and put it in a drawer. I didn't know yet why I was keeping it. Some part of me, the part that saves receipts and labels boxes, just knew to hold on. We married at the county courthouse. 11 guests. Denny's mother, Rosa, flew in with a suitcase and a pan of tamales, and pinned a paper flower to my dress herself because I didn't own a veil. "Mija," she said, holding both my hands, "you are ours now, and we don't let go of ours." My parents didn't come. Bethany sent a text. "Sorry, can't make it. Hope it goes well," with a smiley face. I still have that text saved too. The first years were small and tight and good. Denny worked days at the shop and nights on an idea he wouldn't fully explain. Some kind of diagnostic tool that could read engine faults faster and cheaper than the equipment the big dealerships used. He'd sketch it on napkins at our kitchen table while I graded papers, because I was teaching high school math by then. 41 kids a period, grading until midnight. We had our daughter Iris when I was 29. I sent my mother a photo, no reply. I sent another when she turned 1, no reply. I stopped sending them after that, not out of spite, but because there's only so many times you can knock on a door before you accept it isn't going to open. 9 years. That's how long the silence lasted. 9 years of birthdays with no card. 9 years of a mother who lived 4 hours away and never once asked to see her granddaughter's face. I want to be clear about something. I wasn't bitter. Bitterness is loud. What I had was quieter and colder than that. I kept a folder. Not out of anger, out of habit. Every unanswered text. Every returned letter, marked return to sender in my mother's own hand, which meant she'd had to walk it to the post office herself to make sure it came back. Every voicemail Bethany left, telling me what our parents were saying about me at Thanksgiving, at Easter, at every table I wasn't invited to. 14 items, all dated, all filed in a green folder in my desk drawer, right next to the Tupperware lid I never threw away. Meanwhile, Denny's diagnostic tool stopped being a napkin sketch. He filed a patent the year Iris turned 4, landed a partnership with a regional auto parts chain the year she turned 6, and 2 years ago, a company most people have heard of bought the licensing rights outright. We didn't move into some mansion. We bought a 4-bedroom house 40 minutes outside Madison with a big kitchen and a yard for Iris and her little brother Theo. Denny still wears the same 3 flannel shirts on rotation. He still changes his own oil. But on paper, according to an industry write-up that ran 11 days ago with his photo and a headline about garage-built innovation, my husband is worth a number with 8 figures in it. That's the article my father meant. They came on a Tuesday. My mother wore a cardigan I remembered from church suppers a decade ago. My father stood half a step behind her, the way he always had. No hug, no you look well. My mother sat down at my kitchen table, folded her hands, and said, "We need to discuss the family's future." Not the kids' names, not how have you been. Straight to it. She had brought a page. Handwritten, blue ink, bullet points. Her sister's medical debt. Bethany's mortgage, which apparently had fallen behind. The house in Cedar Holt needed a new roof. A number at the bottom, underlined twice. $610,000. I looked at that page for a long moment. Then I got up, walked to my office, and came back with the green folder. I set it on the table between us. 14 items, all dated. "You brought a list of what you need from me," I said. "I brought a list of what you did instead of ever once asking how I was." My mother's jaw tightened. "We didn't reach out because we were angry. You chose that life, Naomi. We were giving you space to come to your senses. For 9 years? You could have called. I did call. In year 1, you let it ring." She didn't have an answer for that. My father stared at the table. "I want you to picture the room here. Nothing dramatic happened yet." No one raised their voice. This was the part of the story where the temperature drops, not spikes. "Here's what I know," I said. "You didn't come because you missed me. You came because Denny's name was in an article. If I write you a check today, you'll go home and tell yourselves the last 9 years were just a rough patch. That the silence was a misunderstanding. It wasn't, it was a choice. Every one of these I tapped the folder in was a choice." My mother's voice sharpened. "We gave you a childhood, a home, an education, and this is how you treat us? You gave me a Tupperware of banana bread and a letter telling me not to come home if I married him. That's not a childhood I owe interest on." The back door opened. Denny came in from the garage, grease on his knuckles, work boots still on. He clocked the folder on the table. My mother's stiff spine, my face. He didn't say a word. He walked over, put his hand on my shoulder, and sat down beside me. That was it. No speech. Just a man showing up the way he always had. My mother looked at that hand on my shoulder for a long time. I watched something in her face give a little. Not softening exactly, more like recalculating. "I won't be giving you the money," I said quietly. "Not because I can't. Because the moment I do, you'll believe you were right to wait until it was profitable to come back." She stood, chair scraping the tile. "After everything we did for you, you raised me. That's not a debt I owe you a check for. It's just what parents do." I slid the list back toward her. "If you want to know your grandchildren, actually know them, not as a line on a spreadsheet, It starts with an apology. Not to me, to them. And it doesn't start today. It starts whenever you're ready to mean it. She picked up her page. She didn't take mine. She walked to the door. My father lingered half a second longer, looked at me like he wanted to say something, and didn't. Then he followed her out. The door didn't slam. It just clicked shut. That click said more than any slammed door could have. If someone in your life only showed up once your circumstances changed, I want to hear that story. Put it in the comments below. And if this one hit home for you, share it with someone who needs the reminder that they were never a number. 2 weeks have passed since then. Denny and I don't talk about that Tuesday much. Not because we're avoiding it, but because there isn't much left unsaid. The kids don't know what happened. They were at school both times, arrival and departure. I'd like to keep it that way a while longer. Bethany texted 3 days later, "You could have just helped them out, you know." I didn't answer. Some messages answer themselves. My father called once more, alone this time, on a Thursday morning while I was reviewing lesson plans. His voice was rougher than I remembered. "I should have called you years ago," he said. "I should have come when Iris was born. I should have done a lot of things I didn't do. I'm sorry. Not about the money. I don't want anything from you. I want to know my grandkids if you'll let me try." I was quiet for a while, long enough that he said my name to check I was still there. "I believe you, Dad," I said finally. "But believing you and trusting you aren't the same thing yet. We can start slow. Phone calls, every couple weeks. No visits yet, no money, just talking." "That's more than I deserve," he said. "It's exactly what you deserve. Not more, not less. My mother hasn't called. The silence coming from her now is a different silence than before. It's hers to sit in. This time, not mine." The green folder is still in my desk drawer. 14 items. I haven't added a 15th. I hope I never have to. Here's what 9 years of quiet taught me. Family isn't the people who share your last name. It isn't the people who show up once the numbers change. Family is the woman who flew in with a pan of tamales and pinned a paper flower to a courthouse dress because no one else would. Family is the man who walks in from the garage, sees the whole storm sitting at his kitchen table, and just puts his hand on your shoulder and sits down. That's family. It was never about the money. It was always about who showed up when there was nothing yet to show up for. That's my story. If it reminded you that your worth was never a line item, share it with someone who needs to hear that today. Drop a comment, hit subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.